Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Gluestick channel. I make videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore full-time and have a collection of hundreds of monster ecology and strategy videos on my channel, including a complete A to Z list of all the monsters in the Monster Manual. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing as I upload at least twice a week. Excuse me if I crank out quality D&D content at a dizzying rate. Speaking of dizzy, the sheer number of different types of dragons is, I guess, to be expected considering the name of the game. This week, I bring you a rare and elusive dragon that I quite like, the infamously vegan Amber Dragon. There is actually a fantastic homebrew conversion to 5th edition on the D&D website by a member called TheNurge. So shout out to TheNurge, great work, particularly on the lair actions. More on that in a moment. You can find the Amber Dragon originally on page 28 of the Monstrous Compendium Volume 3 for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition. So pretty old school. A dweller in coniferous forests, so alpine regions, forested Arctic regions, great forests of redwoods, that sort of thing. The Amber Dragons are part of a group of dragon species called the Neutral Dragons, because they are not gem dragons, they're not chromatic or metallic. Along with the Amber, I'll also be bringing you lore on the Moonstone Dragon, the Pearl Dragon, the Jade Dragon, the Jacinth Dragon. Also, I lumped the Electrum Dragon into this group because they fit really well with the general nature of these dragons. And sort of outliers to this, although certainly not neutral, are the Tome and the Hex Dragon, which I'll be bringing you as well. Amber Dragons are just a bit smaller than a Copper Dragon of the same age. They are not as prone to instill dragon fear into those that encounter them, but they are still dragons, so not exactly cute and fluffy. Even though they don't eat animals and humanoids, they can certainly kill them if they're aggravated by them. Any angry druid has nothing on an Amber Dragon that is reacting to the wanton chopping down of trees within its territory. Other than that, they are not typically unfriendly creatures, given to wandering around the thick forest keeping their own company. Those who are familiar with the region and the dragon will notice that when the weather is fair and the trees are soaking up warm sun as brilliant fleeting glades of wildflowers bloom, the Amber Dragon is almost playfully happy, exceptionally tolerant of baby mountain goats leaping and prancing around, watching, even following around the industrious bumblebees as they work, while the pine-scented conifers release great clouds of bright yellow pollen, which gathers like snowdrifts on the forest floor. The dragon slumbers peacefully, often making a temporary nest for itself to take frequent naps, half immersed in a natural rocky pool or wrapped around the thick branches a short distance off the forest floor. But when the weather is cold, the climate and the weather turns foul, so does the mood of the Amber Dragon. If disturbed in the depths of winter, the dragon can be a source of great danger for the unwary. So, yeah, they're in tune with the natural environment around them and mercurial, to say the least. Physically, they are well camouflaged in their forest home, to say the least, with a thick bark-like skin that ranges from a dull grey to a dark brown. Their eyes are translucent yellow or orange of a rich amber, and their head has a distinctive feature that makes them immediately identifiable. On the tip of their snout is a sharp and sturdy horn that they use to cut into the trunk of a large tree, sinking that sharp spine in and then drinking from the sap that oozes out of the wood. An adult Amber Dragon can have a range as wide as 900 miles and can be difficult to track down, as they only even create a lair when they're giving birth to a rare clutch of eggs. They have, most unusually for a dragon, absolutely no interest in gold, silver and gems. For them, their forest is their treasure. They have an attitude very similar to a druid. Though they don't go out of their way to protect other forest creatures, they just concern themselves with the well-being of the trees that they consider to be theirs. They may converse with those who happen across their path and who do not concern it. Politeness goes a long way when dealing with any dragon, of course. They speak their own language and may bother to learn the common tongue of the region, as they tend to get to know the druids in the area. They also have innate telepathy, rarely communicating, but keeping aware of the goings-on of the forest gnomes, elves, fairies, and other woodland folk. If provoked into combat, which is hard because they tend to avoid it, their jaws and teeth are not well suited to biting, but they have wicked, very sharp claws that they combine with very functional spikes on their elbows, knees, and the tips of their wings. They can literally rake or slice with their wings and learn from an early age to sweep and slap with their tail. Like most other dragons though, their breath weapon is their most famous and formidable weapon. An Amber Dragon is able to breathe a spray of scalding sticky sap The scalding sap sprays out in a 50-foot cone. The sap's effect is to soak everything in that cone, and any creature in it. It will find that the sap hardens very quickly into a rock-hard, immobilizing resin shell. Characters who successfully pass their dexterity saving throw can scrape enough of it off themselves to avoid being turned into a glazed statue, or those who don't have to, or either manage to shatter the resin shell on a successful strength check, will be rescued from it. They will be solidly encased in it and face the very real risk of suffocation unless they can at the very least have the coating on their face cracked open enough for them to still breathe. And an attack that does at least 4 points of damage, I think, should be sufficient to crack open the resin enough to allow air in and out. The Amber Dragon also has the innate ability to magnetize an opponent up to 3 times per day. This requires a Constitution saving throw from the target, otherwise they will become magnetized for about 1 minute. A magnetized individual has disadvantage on any attack made with a weapon affected by magnetism, such as trying to hurl a metal throwing knife. They also lose any dexterity bonus to their armor class and have their speed reduced by 5 feet per round if they have metallic armor on that magnetism will effect. So that's a pretty wild feature of this dragon. They have the ability to shape change 3 times per day, can also cast blink as a spell like power 3 times per day. Other than that, they have the spell casting powers of a 7th level druid. Okay, so that was the original version. So looking closely at the 5th edition conversion, altogether it's pretty good. I just have a couple of additions to it that I would include. This is so well written, and I quote, "The forest-loving amber dragons sometimes compete for territory with green dragons. However, a forest controlled by an amber dragon is easy to spot. The moss-covered trees grow in verdant green patches deep in the heart of the forest. Branches are cleared from trees in a way that allow for the large creatures' flight beneath the canopy. All of the standing trees appear to be in good condition. Any dead trees are felled, and some are torn to shreds or partially buried. At the centre of its territory, an amber dragon chooses a grotto or grove with a high canopy for its lair, preferring an entrance hidden from prying eyes. Some may even conceal the entrances to their lairs with vegetation. The dragon will find a high bough on which to roost, and amber dragons do not seek treasure, but sometimes their lairs contain items of worth left by fallen foes. On initiative count 20, losing initiative ties, the dragon takes a lair action to cause one of the following effects. The dragon can't use the same effect 2 rounds in a row. Grasping roots and vines erupt in a 20-foot radius centered on a point on the ground that the dragon can see within 120 feet of it. The area becomes difficult terrain, and each creature there must succeed on a DC 15 strength saving throw or be restrained by the roots and vines. A creature can be freed if it or another creature takes an action to make a DC 15 strength check and succeeds, tearing themselves free. The roots and vines wilt away when the dragon uses this lair action again, or when the dragon dies. The creatures living in and around the dragon's lair chitter, howl, and chirp loudly, confusing and distracting the dragon's enemies. The sound is so loud that creatures further away than 10 feet are unable to communicate verbally. Any concentration rolls made by enemy creatures have disadvantage until the next lair action. Also, any intelligence or wisdom ability checks are made with disadvantage. I think that's particularly clever, a gibbering howl. Also, within the entire lair, magical fog rises from the ground, obscuring lines of sight outside of 15 feet. Ranged attacks and spells that roll to hit are at a disadvantage. If the distance is greater than 15 feet, spells that require line of sight to target cannot be cast from further than 15 feet away. The fog dissipates when the dragon uses this lair action again, or when the dragon dies. The description leaves out that the dragons use the characteristic snout spike to gouge trees and to cause sap to run freely from them, which is one way druids and rangers can tell an amber dragon is around. Also, they left out that the magnetizing ability, but did give the dragon the bite attack, where amber dragons don't bite in combat, so I've left that out completely. So, armor class 19, 16d10 plus 64, or between 80 and 224, with an average of 164 hit points. That's okay. Ground speed of 40 feet, flight of 80 feet, and swim of 40 feet per round. That's fast. The dragon is only large though. It should be huge for an adult amber dragon, and I'd drop that AC by 1 point to reflect that. Good stats across the board, still quite below average for a true dragon. Good bonus to stealth and perception. With a passive perception of 17, blind sight to 60 feet for some reason, Dark Vision to 120 feet, Speaks Sylvan, which is spot on, as well as Draconic and Common. Listed as a challenge rating 12 legendary encounter. Has a camouflage advantage on stealth checks, and that is with a +7 bonus, so they are extremely stealthy. Wild Shape bonus action 3 times per day. Any creature of a CR2 or lower, including flying or swimming creatures, so they can turn into a rat or a squirrel or a bat. They have special, or a fish. They have pretty good spellcasting powers. The Amber Dragon is a 5th level spellcaster. Its spellcasting ability is Wisdom, so spell day save DC is 15, +7 to hit with all spell attacks. It has the following spells prepared. As cantrips, it can cast Druid, Craft, Mending, and Resistance at will. It's got 4 first level slots of Cure Wounds, Fog Cloud, or Speak with Animals. It's got 2 second level slots of Heat Metal, Lesser Restoration, and Pass Without Trace. Heat Metal is absolutely devastating. I definitely recommend you use that. And 1 slot of 3rd level, which it can either use Conjure Animals or Plant Growth. And I guess plant growth would be more of a utility used outside of combat because it's got that lair action which it can use to grasp with tendrils. They have a frightful presence with a 60-foot range. Wisdom save is only DC 12, so a truly unfortunate dice roll only would affect a player character. 3 physical attacks per round plus 2 legendary actions it can take during other creatures' turns during the round, so your typical overwhelming draconic engine of destruction. Claws and tail are +8 to hit. Claws on hands, feet, or the wings do 2d6 plus 4 slashing damage. The tail has an impressive 15-foot reach and does 2d8 plus something bludgeoning damage. Oh, I missed that. How did I get that typo? Bludgeoning damage, but no chance of knocking a target prone. The legendary wing attack is more about thumping targets and pushing them down, or knocking them down, rather than slashing out and slicing things up. The breath weapon is very well done. So the Amber Breath, it's got a recharge of 5 or 6. A dragon exhales a spray of scalding hot sap in a 30-foot cone. Each creature in that area takes 4d10 fire damage and must make a DC 15 dexterity saving throw, taking half damage on a successful save. Any creature in that area that failed its save is also paralyzed, encased in hardening sap for 1 minute. An affected creature can make a DC 15 strength save at the end of its following turns to attempt to escape the sticky amber shell. Another creature may spend an action attempting to help the trapped creature escape. This gives the paralyzed creature advantage the next time they roll their saving throw. The shell can also be destroyed. It has an AC of 13 and 20 hit points. However, the creature inside the shell takes half damage, all of the damage done to the shell, before resistance and immunity effects are calculated. Additionally, the amber has immunity to piercing damage and resistance to bludgeoning damage. All in all, really good adaptation and update, with just a couple of details I would change. It's a bit low on the damage for the breath weapon, considering it's a DC 12 creature. So I would definitely up that a bit to bring it more in line with other dragons. Link to the Amber Dragon on D&D Beyond Homebrew down below in the description of the video. A great encounter for your players who see signs of a dragon in the forest and instantly start talking about green or black dragons. Also a really good addition to some involvement with rangers, druids, clerics of nature deities, or for player characters following some sort of nature quest. Also, Amber Dragons do not get along with green or black dragons at all, so their conflict can be very destructive, and they will be heedless to the collateral damage while in the heat of this battle. They're only concerned with their own survival at that point. Amber Dragons also tend to avoid metallic dragons. They just don't care about larger concerns in dragon politics. They find it just as distasteful as the outright evil of the chromatic dragons. They are concerned with their own bit of the forest, and that's it. Please hit the like button if you made it this far. Subscribe if you like what I do. Please subscribe. Check out my Patreon for some exclusive content and for all the full scripts for these videos. Buy some merchandise. Wear your geek with pride. And as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.